Before we dive into the video, make sure to stick around or just skip to the end for some stunning fan art from the community in a new segment called Kusop Gallery. I've noticed a lack of care in how we credit the amazing artists in the One Piece community. So let's do better. If you're sharing someone's art in your videos or on socials, always make sure to credit the artist and ask for permission to use it, unless stated otherwise. When it comes to using other artists' work, don't be a pirate. Credit where it's due, says the dude using crap ton of anime clips. Monkey D. Dragon will be the king of the world. Not because I care, because I don't. His signature ellipses don't get me going. And let's face it, he's just another deadbeat in the ever-growing list of men who abandon their kids in One Piece. Dragon may think he's all that with his edgy face tattoo, but let's be real, this is the face of a man who gave up on getting a 9-to-5 job to provide for his family long ago. But regardless of what I think of this man, I've been holding on to my dragon stocks. I'm all in, baby. Why? Because I know with absolute certainty that this leader of the Kakumegun, the Revolutionary Army, will ultimately claim the seat at the top of the world as the rightful ruler. All the way back in chapter 100 titled The Legend Begins, Oda had already laid out the path for this man to rule. Watch this video to the end and I guarantee you'll be a believer, or at least you'll realize I wasn't bluffing. People around the globe has been deciphering this tattoo for decades, looking over ancient civilizations, analyzing every panel in the manga, and even scouring Wikipedia and ChatGPT for hints. Well, I'm here to say that y'all are overthinking it. The answer is disappointingly simple, something a child could come up with, which is exactly the point. Oda has always stayed true to his 15-year-old self as the ideal image of his reader. So, without further ado, the disappointing reveal and inspiration for Monkey D. Dragon's tattoo is playing cards, more specifically the insignificant 3 of Diamonds. And this card is a clue that Dragon is destined for greatness. I'm sure you've got a whole deck of questions, but before I reveal all the cards, hello, Kusaland here with another One Piece theory video. This one's Card Piece. I've kept this video as short as possible, so please stick around to the end this time to have your mind blown on a galactic level. If you're enjoying the video so far, do me a favor and like it. It helps me out tremendously. While you're at it, consider subscribing so we can hit that 3K goal in honor of Mr. 3 of Diamonds. And no, I don't mean Galdino. Now, let's get into it. I'm really going to take it seriously this time. This video is going to be short and sweet and I'm not going on wild tangents like I usually do. So I'm definitely not going to bring up other card references in One Piece like Big Mom the Queen of Hearts, a nod to Alice in Wonderland, or the other characters referencing hearts like Corazon, Law, Alvida, Django, Nami, and Boa Hancock's Mano Mano no Mi. I'm also not here to talk about Cloudy Clover, the late Hawkins, may he rest in peace, with his tarot cards, Viva cards, which could have just been called Viva Paper, or Doflamingo, whose alias was Joker, or even his family, Diamante the Diamond, Treble the Clover, Virgo the Heart, or Pika the Spade. Nor will I mention Kaido the King of Beasts with a club as a weapon, or his top officers King, Queen, and Jack, or how the lower ranking members are named after card games. And I definitely won't mention the recently introduced Hanafuda, a former Shichibukai who was likely the missing ace of Kaido's crew. You're probably wondering how I can skip all of that when it's clearly connected to the theme of cards in One Piece, but like I said, I'm trying to keep it brief. That said, let's talk about Portgas D Ace, the Ace of Spades, a card which traditionally represents death. And here's something most people don't think about. Ace's Portgas name is a nod to the origin of playing cards. Why? Because Portugal, that's why. It was Portuguese traders and missionaries who first introduced playing cards to Japan in the mid-16th century. The first cards the Portuguese introduced were called Tensho Karata, closely representing European decks with 4 suits. These Western cards quickly became widespread. Gambling rapidly grew around them, which then led to government bans on gambling. People began creating new decks of cards and card games to navigate these restrictions. The first of these new decks was Unsun Karata, a more complex deck that became popular with Japan's higher class. Unlike the Portuguese decks which had dragons on their aces, Unsun Karata split the ace and dragon into 2 separate cards, with dragons ranking higher, which when you think about it is some juicy connection to dragon since his name implies that he is destined to rise above all. You might wonder if Oda is even aware of this Unsun Karata deck, especially since it's nearly extinct today. Well, it just so happens that it is only being used in Kumamoto, Oda's hometown. One of the most famous Japanese decks to emerge during the Edo period was Hanafuda. These cards feature beautiful images of flowers rather than numbers and suits, and were also developed as a workaround to the gambling bans. In modern times, games like Koi Koi which use Hanafuda cards are still played. Koi Koi means come come, not like that, and invites luck to come to you. Which brings me to One Piece, where we have Kaido who has a Koi Koi no Mi. And remember how in Unsun Karata, dragons rank above aces? And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my Christmas Piece video, where I talk about how toys and games play an integral role in the story, like with Santa and his gift giving. Just look at how the poneglyphs are an homage to the Rubik's Cube, which I've explained in the past, or how Law is basically playing Operation with his foes. And let's not forget the latest Elbaf arc with Legoland. Cards are a staple, the foundation of all tabletop games, so why wouldn't they be one of the key references Oda makes? And yes, I can't forget the One Piece trading card game, otherwise known as OPTCG. Shout out to Desnes the Dwarf, I still have the Luffy leader card you sent me all the way from Germany, so thank you brother. If you're into OPTCG or the One Piece live action, definitely check out Desnes' wonderful channel. Trading card games are a multi-billion-dollar industry in Japan, with Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Duel Masters being its kings. In relation to anime and manga, there's also Cardcaptor Sakura, Vanguard series, and Chihaya Flu, as well as the aforementioned Yu-Gi-Oh! And Duel Masters, whose narratives all center around card games also. And back to regular cards, what about the Joker, the ultimate wild card that destroys everything in its path? Well, One Piece has more than one Joker. Doflamingo, who we've talked about already, Caesar Clown, and Buggy the Genius Jester. And let's not forget Luffy, whose Nika form makes him a literal joker, always laughing and turning the tide in unexpected ways. It's no wonder Oda emphasizes unique laughs so much in the series. Even Usopp fits into this theme. He's an absolute wildcard, able to defeat enemies others can't even touch. He took down Perona, the crowned ghost princess who literally had Zoro apologizing for simply existing. And he even defeated Sugar, another crowned character who can turn people into toys with a Hobi Hobi no Mi and erase everyone's memories of them, all while remaining perpetually youthful. An absolute OP character defeated by this guy. Usopp, with his luck and bravery, stands as the ultimate joker. The duality of cards is also a fitting metaphor. Playing cards are divided into red and black suits, with face cards having mirrored designs. It's the same kind of duality we see in One Piece. If Luffy represents the red or white Joker, perhaps Emu represents the black Joker. So Emu is the final antagonist, also being the ultimate card, the Joker? Check out Tainted Mask video on Emu being a clown for a deep dive on that theory. It's an oldie but a goldie. Playing cards are by nature a ranking system, a deck of cards representing numbers that determine the order of their strengths and the playing of the games to determine winners and losers. Ranking systems, just as we have seen in the world of One Piece, like with the bounty system, the 20 kings, the 12 supernovas, the 7 warlords, got also the 5 elders, the 4 emperors, the 3 admirals and the ranking of the officers. Emu, the one and only ruler of the world. You get the idea. It's all to measure and label where characters are in the hierarchy of the world. Even Luffy's goal is to become the king of the pirates, like Goldie Roger, to become numero uno. Baroque Works is another organization that is based on cards. Its structure features a duality of male and female pairings, and the most recognized and top-ranking officers are ranked from 1 to 13. Well, what do you know? That's the same as playing cards, which range from ace to king, aka 1 to 13. This means that Mr. Zero and Miss All Sunday represents the Jokers, right? Not surprising, since Jokers can be considered as representing Zero also. It's just another hint that Emu could be the Joker too, since Mu means void. Now that you understand how relevant playing cards are to the story, let's finally talk about how Monkey D. Dragon, represented by the underwhelming 3 of Diamonds, will rise to become the ultimate ruler of the world. Also, I clearly have issues since I made sure that this script had exactly 3,333 words, but anyway, like the video. Now, any of you know of Daifugo or Daiheimin? What about President Asshole or Scum? Or have you heard of Tetongyan Game meaning President Game? Shangyo meaning upper class? Chodai known as Big Two? Or maybe Tianlin meaning go forward?
Or perhaps you heard of Trou du cul and Arschloch meaning asshole, Pascal meaning shit pants, Kungen meaning the king, Kulo meaning ass, President or President.
Merci beaucoup, Maki. Tell Martha I said hi. It's a crossover episode. Nah, not really. But beyond insulting a dozen nations with our pronunciations, what we were doing was listing all the different names that refer to basically the same card game, beloved all around the world. I won't explain the rules in full, since they vary from country to country, but unless you've been living under a rock, you've most likely come across a version of this game at some point in your life. One Piece is a story about attaining world peace, fitting then that Oda would choose to depict a card game played by hundreds of millions around the world. Daifugo is also an incredibly popular card game in Japan, and like its counterparts, it's played with a standard deck of cards. The objective is simple: be the first player to get rid of all your cards. Players take turns playing a higher set of cards than the previous person. there are special rules or variations that might allow certain cards to skip turns or reverse the order of play, kind of like Uno. The hierarchy of the cards in Daifuku can vary a little from region to region, but is generally 3 as the lowest and 2 or the Joker as the highest depending on the rules. In terms of suits, either clubs or diamonds are the lowest in most regions, but in Kumamoto, where Oda is from, the order of suits from weakest to strongest is diamonds, clubs, hearts, spades. And so, the weakest card in the whole game is, well, 3 of diamonds. I've been calling this card fodder, but in Daifuku, the 3 of diamonds is literally the bottom of the barrel. But remember, this is a One Piece video. Do we all remember what will happen when the One Piece is found? Whitebeard stated that when the One Piece is found, the whole world will be flipped upside down. Those at the top will plummet to the bottom, and those at the bottom will soar to the top. And so the moment this fateful day comes, at the end of it all, it will not be Marshall D. Teach sitting at the top of the world, but Monkey D. Dragon, the man with the 3 of diamonds tattoo, wielding the weakest card in the game. This dragon will reign supreme as the ultimate king of the new world. You know, Daifuku is actually a savage game. Losing a single game isn't the end of your misery. The order in which you win determines whether you're a Daifuku, Grand Millionaire, Fugo, Millionaire, Heimin, Commoner, Hinmin, Poor, or Daihinmin, extremely poor. But as a loser, not only are you labelled with a demoralizing title, you're also forced to give up your best hands to the winners through a system called Zeikin, meaning taxation. Kind of like the heavenly tributes in One Piece, or just taxation in our world. So you've lost, you're demoralized, and now your chances of making your way back up have truly dwindled. Oda's depicted this over and over again, no? The rich and powerful taking from the poor and helpless to ensure that the hierarchy stays the same. It's no different from what happens in the real world, I suppose. Or even this bloody YouTube grind I've subjected myself to, ruled by the algo gods. Maybe, if I pray hard enough, they'll bless this video with more views. Or just more comments telling me at which point in the video they stop watching. Like, bro, did I ask? But pivoting from that depressing thought, when I'm doing research on my theories, I often come across game-changing facts that upgrade my theories beyond confirmation bias. This time is no different. When I came across this information, I had zero doubt about my theory because it was too perfect to be a coincidence. So, I was looking through the rules of Daifuku and came across a rule that literally Uno reverses a crappy situation by flipping everything upside down. You see, this move is activated when a specific condition is met. The condition is when a 4 of a kind is played. This activates a complete reversal of the ranking of the cards. The rich become the poor become the rich, the best become the worst, and the worst become the best. The 3 of diamond goes from being the absolute worst trash dog card in the deck to being a god tier card able to beat everything. But here's the mic drop. The name of this move, which allows the 3 of diamonds to become the strongest card, is known as Kakume, or in English, Revolution, as in holy crucibles, the Kakume-gun, Revolutionary Army. There's no way that wasn't intentional, right? And playing a 4 of a kind activates this event. The Yonko, the 4 Emperors, along with some other parties will all meet on Laugh Tale, and there will be a battle royale. When the dust settles, One Piece will be claimed by one of the Yonko, which would then activate the Kakume move, flipping the world upside down and leading to the eventual championing of Monkey D. Dragon as the ruler of the world. Now, I'd really like to end the video here on a banger, but I've still got to wrap things up. Poorly executed, I know, but bear with me. Grr. Here's another thought. We're talking about Daifuku here, a game where we have rankings from Mega Broke to Mega Loaded. If Dragon ends up being at the very top of the world, then he likely started his journey all the way at the very bottom, right? While Dragon was born in Goa Kingdom, so then it's most likely that he was raised in Grey Terminal. It's also a location very familiar to both Luffy, Ace and Sabo. Seems very plausible to me. To those of you confused, since Dragon is Garp's son, he's not. Go check out my Christmas Feast video where I prove that he's the son-in-law to Garp. But another possibility is that considering how we're starting to see the new generations leading the way in the story, and the older generations paving the way for them and falling back, it may be wiser to look at someone else other than Dragon as the eventual leader. For all we know, Dragon might not even make it to the end of his goal, so his will may be passed on to another. I'm of course talking about Sadibo here. Makes total sense too since he's of that younger generation. Plus, like I mentioned in the past, Sabo has very close parallels to Imu, so fitting too that Sabo would be the one to replace him. And his stepbrother Stelly, if you remember, is now the king of Goa Kingdom, a title that could have been Sabo's had things played out differently. Not only that, but it was Stelly who imagined himself sitting atop the empty throne. So wouldn't it tie everything nicely if Sabo ended up being the one to rule? And had Ace survived the Marineford War, I think most people would agree that the ASL brothers were all destined to one day lead their people, right? Luffy is the captain of his crew and will one day be the Pirate King. Ace would have taken over the Whitebeard crew, and surely you can all see Sable becoming the leader of the Revolutionary Army. Sable has also clearly inherited Dragon's Will and has literally learnt the Dragon Claw fist attack. I mean, the Revolutionary Army as a whole is also likely the group to make up the new government system, right? We already have the 4 commanders of the North, South, West and East, who could end up governing the 4 seas, which also fits the number of suits and playing cards. And if we were to include Ivankov's G army, that'd make 5 commanders, which parallels the Gorosu, the 5 Elders, and the flag of the current world government with its 5 points. Perfect then that the Revolutionary Army would be the ones to replace this current government. Plus, the Revolutionary Army's flag itself being red ties into the red diamond suit. One thing to mention though is that the Joker can beat all cards, even the 3 of diamonds upon a Kakume happening. The only card that can beat a Joker is another Joker, so we know that the final battle is going to come down to these Joker candidates. But I'm still willing to go all in on either Dragon or Sable as the ones to sit at the top of the new world government in the very end. As for Blackbeard, who desires the world like Xebec also did, I think that Teach may temporarily claim the throne, but ultimately, he's just another misdirection from Oda. Like Xebec, Teach will ultimately fail when the world is flipped upside down. Like how Ace was always intended to die because his card is Ace of Spades and represents death, Dragon, depicting the 3 of diamonds, was always intended to rule. One dragon shall fall, and another dragon shall take its place. As a final note, 3 in Japanese is sun, so what happens when the revolution is activated? The world is flipped upside down and the sun will return to the top. A literal dawn of the world that we have all been waiting for. And that's it. Thanks for sticking around to the end and trusting in the heart of the cards. Do me a favor and sub to the channel so that we can reach our 3k goal. Remember, stick around also for the new Kusop Gallery segment. As requested by Will of D999, let's end this video with a moment of silence for Hawkins. Okay, moment over. Kusaland out. Peace.